It's Tim Sheets for TechSpot, and this is the Lenovo Miix 2.8, the company's take on an entry-level Windows 8.1 8-inch tablet. It comes internally with an Intel Atom Z3740 SoC with 2GB of RAM. There's an 8-inch 1280 by 800 IPS LCD display on the front and a 5-megapixel rear camera on the back. It's also got a 17.5 watt-hour battery inside, as well as 32 or 64 gigabytes of storage, and it's running Windows 8.1 out of the box with full desktop capabilities. The build of the Lenovo Miix 2.8 is actually quite decent, with the company trying to make the tablet as slim and as light as possible. We're looking at a tablet that's 8.4mm thick and just 350 grams heavy, and on the back you'll notice that it's actually made of a metallic type material, which I imagine is aluminium. It's textured quite nicely and feels great to hold. It doesn't quite have that same premium feel as the Apple iPad mini, but that said, it does seem tough and it does feel quite nice in the hand. As you notice here, we have got some Lenovo branding at the back, also in metal, and at the top, cut out, you'll find the speaker grill and also the hole for the 5-megapixel camera. There's some interesting choice here to put some stickers on the back of the device that look kind of out of place. You've got the Windows sticker, also the Intel Inside sticker, and some product information, and there is this panel along the bottom here which is made of plastic. It doesn't have that same feel, of course, going down the entirety of the tablet, which is a little bit dodgy, and there's quite a seam there in between the metal and the plastic, but I imagine this is to facilitate the wireless radios inside the device and also to make it a little bit different to just having a plain slab of material on the back. That said, though, it's still quite nice to hold in the hand. And on the front, we're dealing with Gorilla Glass, which is quite smooth, as you can see browsing around the operating system. It's not inhibiting your fingers or anything like that. Things simply swoosh along as you'd expect. Also on the front, you'll notice a front-facing camera up the top and the capacitive Windows button at the bottom, which generally seems to function quite well. Apart from the 3.5mm headphone jack, which you can find along the top panel of the Lenovo Miix 2.8, everything else is found along the right-hand side. So at the top we have a quite solid feeling power button as well as a volume rocker. Down the bottom here we have the micro USB port for charging, and we also have a flap which underneath will conceal the micro SD card slot, which you can see there. You can put in your SD cards to expand upon the 32GB of storage inside the device. Overall, the design of the Lenovo Miix 2.8 is quite nice, but something that isn't so great is the panel that they've used on the front of the device. We're looking at a 1280 by 800 IPS LCD display at, of course, 8 inches in size, and that means that the resolution that you're getting isn't so great. You can notice things such as text here. It appears just a little bit jagged on this panel, and it's not quite as good as if it included a 1080p panel such as the Lenovo ThinkPad 8 tablet, which is their higher end tablet that has an 8-inch 1080p panel. If we look at some colors and things, it is quite nice. Of course, we're talking about IPS technology, which means that viewing angles and things like that is quite good, as are the colors that you can see, browsing through the news app. But again, you notice things such as the text here just isn't as good as it could have been if they'd included a 1080p panel. That said, I was impressed with the contrast and brightness of this panel. I think the panel can actually go a little bit brighter than what we're using here, and you can notice that sort of good range of display brightnesses. So even though the color quality of the Lenovo Miix 2.8's panel is quite good, when you zoom in and you start looking at text, as far zoomed out as it goes on the browser, it's quite easy to notice individual pixels, and that is of course the downside of using a 1280 by 800 WXGA panel as opposed to a 1080p panel, which you'll find in tablets that are around about the same price. So in that respect, this is a little bit disappointing. So internally, we're looking at an Intel Atom Bay Trail Z3740 SoC, which comes with a 1.33 GHz quad-core CPU, as well as Intel's Gen 7 HD graphics GPU. Of course, this is paired with 2GB of RAM, which gives a fairly decent performance around the operating system. Everything is hardware accelerated, so you're not really going to get any lag in terms of animations and things like that. Occasionally, you can notice applications that you haven't launched before taking a bit of time to open, as we open some things that haven't exactly opened before. Those splash screens can get a bit annoying. That said, we are looking at performance that is similar to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 800 and Apple A7 chips. It's not up there with Haswell or anything like that, but you can see reflowing, manipulating web pages like we've got here up on Wikipedia. It's still quite easy to do, you're not really losing any performance there, and also gaming is quite decent on this tablet, although not quite as good as you get from the Snapdragon 800 chip or anything like that. Again, you can see just how fluid some of the animations and things like that are on this tablet. You're not going to get any lag or slowdown in that respect. As well as general good performance around the operating system thanks to that Intel Atom SoC, we also have full access to the Windows 8.1 desktop, meaning that you can actually run your desktop applications on this tablet for what it's worth. Unfortunately, things on the display can be a little hard to see and touch on the small screen that you get from the Miix 2.8. For example, some of the items that we have down here on the side can be kind of tricky sometimes to sort of access these items, but of course you do get the full file browser, as well as sort of, you can run any application that you want on here, like Photoshop or Google Chrome running in a desktop environment. You can run Steam on this tablet if you really want to. But again, if you're using Photoshop, for example, the performance isn't going to be great. Of course, we're only talking about Intel's entry-level processor inside there, so you're not going to get Haswell performance or anything like that. So generally speaking, I don't really use the desktop all that much. As you can see, I haven't really got any applications loaded on this fresh install of the tablet. That said, it is there as an option if you so want to choose it. So despite some of the positives to the Lenovo Miix 2.8, such as the good design and general great performance from Intel's Atom SoC, this isn't a tablet that I could recommend, and that's because there is one fatal flaw that seriously affects the usability of this device. The issues all surround the touchscreen, and sometimes the touchscreen isn't as responsive as it should be, making things like the keyboard incredibly difficult to use. For example, if we go here into the Twitter application and I want to say, compose a tweet saying, I'm currently doing a video review and I'm typing at a normal speed. You can see here, as I was typing on the keyboard, it has done some crazy commands and opened up things that I simply didn't want to do. The issues are often most noticeable after you immediately pick up the tablet and go to turn it on. For example, if I wanted to say, pick up my Lenovo Miix 2.8 and search for the latest cricket scores, I would normally press the power button, flick it up, which is all fine, go in here and immediately begin typing cricket scores between Australia and South Africa. And you can see a few things here, like it's put in these interesting international characters such as the E with the inflection on it, and it's also simply not recognized some of the characters that I've put in or the spaces that I've been trying to put in, and you can see it's done here again with the W key. These are often characters you actually need to hold down and select, which makes me think that there is something wrong with the multi-touch capabilities of the Lenovo Miix 2.8. Of course, if you're typing at a relatively slow speed on the keyboard of the Lenovo Miix 2.8, you won't tend to find too many problems with its touchscreen responsiveness. For example, if I search TechSpot there, it's only had one slight problem which can be adjusted fairly easily. If I go even to type it with one finger, you notice there isn't really any problems there searching for TechSpot. But that said, you don't want to put up with a tablet that has a dodgy touchscreen. I do believe that this could be fixed in a driver update in the future, but I have actually been sent 3 Lenovo tablets, 3 Miix 2.8s, and all of them have had the same touchscreen problems, so I do believe it might be something that is happening across all the Miix 2.8s that are out there, which is a little bit disappointing, but I'll keep an eye out just to make sure that a software update does come, and we'll see whether it's going to fix those touchscreen problems. But for now, with those touchscreen problems in there, affecting the sort of general usability of this tablet and making me quite frustrated during some of my reviewing time with the device, this simply isn't a tablet that I can genuinely recommend, and I'd probably tend to steer towards maybe the Dell Venue 8 Pro or even Lenovo's higher-end ThinkPad 8 tablet with that 1080p display, as perhaps your better options in the small-screened Windows tablet arena. And that is it for this review of the Lenovo Miix 2.8. If you want to be notified of all our future video reviews that we'll be doing on TechSpot, click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to check out the full written review, which goes over a little bit more depth on the Lenovo Miix 2.8, showing you a few performance benchmarks and camera samples from the device. You can of course click through to that. Links will be in the description below. Also, if you have any questions about the tablet, feel free to ask me on my Twitter feed at ScorpusV. And of course, TechSpot is also on Twitter. You should follow us at TechSpot. Thanks guys, and this has been a TechSpot video review.